Hey guys.
Morning.
So to introduce you, we've got Tim. Now, Tim, uh, you've been with Tower for a long time.
Yeah, I have, yeah, a couple of years. Yep.
You were probably 5 or 6 when you started.
Yeah, maybe nine. Yep.
Yep.
No,
Married to two
I think I was
kids. Yep.
19. I think I was 19 actually. Yeah.
Right. So this is pre the world you're in today.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yep.
And so also we've got Justin. Justin,
Hey.
you've been with Tower for 12 years,
Good.
13 years?
Yeah, come up to 11. 11,
11
I
years.
reckon. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
And you joined us from retail.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
So
Yeah, grew up
you
in
brought the retail hat into the business.
I think so, yeah.
Um, so we're talking today about produce businesses. And before we kind of get too deep into that, what's fascinating to me is that what we call a produce business or a stock feed business could also be a farm shop business, or what else would you guys see these businesses called?
Yeah, even fencing,
Mm.
like oh
Yeah.
yeah, so, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Equestrian, fencing, a bit of pet as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Broad range.
Tim?
Yeah, look, that's exactly what I was going to cover off. Some are, yeah, they're farm supplies, they're fencing, they're equestrian, that kind of typical sort of, rural store. Some are even doing, pumps, tanks,
Mm.
yeah, a very, very broad range of products.
And even a farm shop. So you've got the farm, you've got a shop in front of the farm, and in the farm shop, you're serving coffee and cakes. So
Yeah.
a little bit of cafe, a little bit of farm shop, a bit of produce, a bit of pet. And I think the thing that's interesting about this category of business, um, deliveries are a big factor for them and getting things delivered on time and accurately. Another factor is that they can sell by weight or sell by measure and include fractions in that.
Mm.
What other sort of things, Tim, are you coming across when you're talking to farm supply businesses?
Well, you made a really valid point there. I had one just a couple of days ago, and a big part of their business was gas distribution as well. So
Sorry, gas
they
distribution?
Yeah. So, your big 45 kilo liter gas bottles, delivering those to properties. And
Right.
so the really good thing about retailer is they could put that transaction through, they can invoice it, they can then use the dispatch tools to put it on a delivery run for a particular driver and yeah, manage that whole process.
And if they
Um,
needed to have care instructions or safety instructions associated with the product, they can get delivered on the material as well.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that could be on the quota invoice. Yeah, that can go through to the customer.
Yeah. Justin, what are you seeing in terms of kind of farm supply or these produce businesses that you'd be talking to?
Yeah, a bit of that. A bit of drive-through stuff as well. A lot of businesses have a drive-through aspect to their business. So they'll do the transaction in the store. They might have a shed where they've got all their hay and chaff. So they'll do the transaction. The car will drive through. The staff member will have a picking slip to load that truck up or the ute.
Mhm.
Or they'll drive down to the bottom of the shed and that shed can basically print a picking slip to see exactly what they purchased up store.
We've got about 300 customers in this space, and it's fascinating because, as I said, we talk about it as produce or farm supply, but it really is quite broad and diverse. I know there was a customer where most of their business was done on trucks, and so they were using the retailer Rome facility to go out. And I think it was molasses or something they were delivering, and they could deliver it, measure it out, and then charge for it using Rome on the truck. And that
Mm.
was all syncing back to the central business.
Yeah, yeah. And didn't even need internet connection out there too, like worked offline or online.
So, in terms of diversity, would you say that kind of this farm supply produce area, Tim, is probably one of the most diverse that we exist in?
Yeah, absolutely. And it seems to be a constant evolution as well. Like I had one just the other day and their business had changed. So while they invoice goods to farms and businesses like that, they similar to the one you mentioned before, they had trucks going out, but they were actually stocking a shelf area in the business. So they would essentially roll in, have a look at what this customer needs, and just replenish those goods,
Right.
invoice them while they're there. So they've got it cloud hosted and they're using like the full version of retailer so they can do all of that sort of stuff on the road as well.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, it's a very, very diverse industry.
Hey, Justin, do you want to take us in and let us get a sense of what some of these parts of the software might look like. We're
Yeah,
not going to do
absolutely.
a full demonstration, but let's dive in and have a look at some. What would you like to start off with?
Look, I always love to start off with the AI stuff because not just produce businesses, but every industry seems to be loving that at the moment. But I'll start with I was going to say boring things, but when I say boring, it's probably the most practical thing, and that's how the software handles the general data side of things. So that's a broad range of things. So that could be from, quoting and invoicing customers, the system producing statements, automating discounts using our discount profiles for customers.
So
Um,
show us
so,
something so we can
yeah,
see how it might work on the screen.
yeah, so I'll bring up a couple of items here. If you want to assign this sale to a particular customer and they're on a particular discount profile, so when I say discount profiles, that could be, they could be a trade or wholesale customer. They could just get a flat percentage either off retail or above cost.
Yep.
So you can set those profiles up in the system, assign those profiles to the customers, and you'll see here that automates a discount as soon as you assign that sale to the customer.
Right.
So this is an invoice sale, so this is booking it up to my account. You can quickly and easily change that to a cash sale. So for whatever reason they want to pay cash for this particular sale, you can just click a button there and that will change it to cash sale.
And if they change to cash, you're still preserving whatever discount structure they happen to be on.
Absolutely. And you've still got all that transactional history against their account, obviously. So yeah, really handy.
So, Tim, if I can jump to Tim for a question while you're on this screen.
Yeah.
So, Tim, we're looking at this customer, they've made this purchase. And let's say down the track, I want to either make some sort of offer or contact everybody who's bought multi-grow. I can, within the software, I think, go and find who has bought that and reach out to
Yeah,
them.
absolutely. Yeah, you can use the marketing tools. You can pull out a list of customers. You can even SMS them directly from the system. So yeah,
Okay.
yep, really easy to do. Yep.
So, Tim, what would you get Justin to show us if you were talking about this software in?
Look, I don't want to put him on the shot on the spot with having to show a feature he might not be ready to, but the big thing for me, it's kind of similar to what Justin just explained, and that's the quoting and invoicing side of things. So, where this business might have a local farm, they always buy the same 20 or 30 different products. You can have that pre-built into a quote. You can then uh, replicate that quote. You can modify it. There's some really cool tools in here for managing that. And then if for whatever reason it was a larger quote or invoice for a customer, maybe someone's doing 5 kilometers of fencing and they need a lot of product for it, you can actually take that quote or invoice for a customer and convert it into being an order from the particular suppliers. So there's a lot of control over how you manage that side of it, which is, I think, becoming more and more important to
And
these type of businesses.
that example that you gave about kind of having a sort of a template that you've set up, you're seeing customers do that?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So doing it for a heap of different industries. So, produce, we've also got some of these type of customers that might install a tank, a pump, all of the plumbing. So they'll have default packages for that sort of stuff, and they can just copy and paste it to the next customer and then modify anything they need to.
So, Justin, what's something else that you would want to show somebody in this farm supply produce space to show off some of the facilities of the software?
Yeah, so we call it manufactured goods, or in the produce space, bagging up or bagging down. So this facility basically allows you to do exactly that. So if you get something in bulk and you want to break that into say smaller bags to sell, this facility allows you to do that quickly and easily. And same as if you create your own, say, custom mixes or
Mm.
custom feeds, and you want to grab, a bit out of component A, component B, and component C, make up that custom bag. This facility allows you to do that, also while keeping track of, individual component quantity on hand and, cost and retail price information.
I know we had a customer in the Canberra area years ago where they were doing that. They were creating to a very specific recipe, bird seed, and they were having a lot of success with that. And they were the only business in the area that had this product. It was branded as theirs, so it gave them a point of difference, which is really cool. And through retailer, they could manage the source inventory that made up the product they ultimately sold.
Exactly right. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So, Tim, let's bounce to you.
All
Challenge
right.
Justin again with something that you'd like to demonstrate in this software.
Yeah, yeah. So look, there's kind of two facilities that I'm thinking, and I'll go with in terms of Justin's in point of sale. So let's stay there. The depth of functionality built around managing catalogs. So anything that you're doing where the pricing might modify or be a promotion. So you can do catalogs where you might say, "Oh, horse feed is 5% off this week." But then you can even go as far as saying things like fence posts. You might say one fence post is $10. If they buy between 5 and 10, that price reduces to $9. If they buy from 11 to 40, it goes even cheaper again. So you can set up those price ranges and they can even be cross-transactional. So for things like pet food, where it might be buy 9 bags, get the 10th free, you can manage all of that in the system and it'll automatically apply those discounts for you.
So,
And I'll
Tim,
put that
thinking
example
about,
up on the screen.
sorry,
Sorry.
Tim, thinking about the customers, if I can just jump in here, the example you've given there about fence posting posts, have you seen with produce businesses, farm supply businesses you've spoken with, are you seeing them use that kind of tiered pricing based on volume?
Yeah, absolutely. Really common for that sort of stuff. Yeah, I think
Okay,
it's largely how the industry works.
cool. Justin, you were just going to say,
Yeah, I was just going to say that last example Tim had here with the multi-buy. I've got that example on the screen. So, it might be buy 10 dog food bags and get the 11th free. The system will absolutely track that as well, as you can see with this little message down the bottom here.
okay. So while we're on this screen, just quickly, over there on the right-hand side, you've got a whole bunch of little blocks and squares and things like that, which we see in point of sale around the world. There's no getting away from that thing. But my business is a little different. I don't sell much in the way of lawn fertilizer or much in the way of, say, dog food. How easy is it for me to change those things?
Yeah, very easy. This little cog up here will be your best friend. As you can see here, you can change, font sizes, how many buttons you want,
Okay.
what you want those buttons to be. But to answer your question, really simple.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Justin, we're going to give you a shot now. Show us something that you think is pretty exciting about this for, produce, farm supply, farm shop, those sorts of businesses.
Yeah, look, the other one, really easy one. So basically, how you can pass on, I think someone touched on it earlier as well, how you can pass on additional info when you're selling certain products. So I've got my lawn fertilizer here, and I'll just preview a receipt just so I can show you what we can print on these. But basically, if you want to pass on hazardous good information, warranty information when you're selling certain product, care instructions, whatever you want to pass on when you're selling certain product, you can do that via the receipts and invoices. So this is basically telling the customer, the best climate to apply the lawn fertilizer in. And you can go one step further. And if I go to the stock screen, this is where I put that data in that prints on the receipts. But you can actually attach data sheets as well.
Oh,
So
good.
any PDFs or anything like that, anything more in detail that you want to pass on,
Yep.
when you email a soft copy of that receipt to the customer, any PDF attachments will attach as well.
Okay. Let's now take a step back. You both have mentioned AI in terms of the AI tools in the software, which we've got embedded in the software. We've been doing that for several years now, and they're continuing to enhance. Have you got anything set up, Justin, where you could show us, say, importing how it might import an invoice that it's never imported before, and how the AI tools assess the invoice?
Yeah, yeah, let's get to it. So we've got AI import here. So basically, it turns any type of file, PDF's the more common one, into an electronic file where AI will analyze a file and basically try and bring in everything as is. So I'll just bring up this invoice here.
Yep. Kind
This
of
is
doesn't matter what the products are, does it really, for the
yeah, this is
example?
the PDF version of obviously on the left-hand side here. If I go analyze file, I think I might have already added, half of these products into the database. So that will analyze it over here, put it over to the grid, and anything that's not in the system will obviously be highlighted red. And from this screen, you can assign it, departments, categories, barcodes, and a couple of other things as well.
So, Tim, what Justin's showing us there is this ability for retailer using the AI tool to take any PDF invoice
Yeah.
and bring it in without having to kind of know about the structure of that invoice.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's incredibly powerful. A really cool tool. I think retailers are going to see this save them hours and hours of time.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. All right, let's jump out of there. If you stop sharing your screen, I'm just aware of the time. We don't want to kind of bore people with us rabbiting on too much. As I said before, we've got about 300 customers in this space. Um, and they're a pretty diverse community of businesses. And so I'd be interested in both of you speaking, maybe Tim, if you go first, speaking to that diversity and the kinds of businesses you've sold software to.
Yeah, yeah. Well, look, a couple of recent examples. Like I said, the one that does gas distribution as well. I also had one that is a service station as well, but they don't actually transact the fuel over the counter. It's all done outside of the pumps, and we've done some work to bring in that transaction information to link it to the customer's accounts and all sorts of stuff. Yeah, it's an incredibly diverse industry. Another one I sold to, this is going back a while. I think they've had us for maybe 2 or 3 years, and that's largely fencing suppliers more
Right.
so than traditional rural suppliers.
Yep.
Another one that is a tank distributor. Yeah, huge range of customers.
Okay. Justin, what about you? What sort of diversity are you seeing in this sort of produce farm supply area?
Oh, look, I'm going to be boring. I'm basically just everything that Tim said, really. Everything from fuel out on the road sales. I mean, the most recent ones I've had have just been standard, pet and produce. But yeah, certainly all the examples we've given, we've seen in the past.
Yep. So, we deal with a range of vertical markets, jewelers, garden centers, bike shops, toy shops, gift shops, homeware shops, book shops. So across a range of vertical markets. I know you guys have said before, you kind of like dealing with produce businesses. Not that you don't like the others, but you like dealing with produce businesses. I think you're coming across a really nice group of people when you're dealing with those prospective customers.
Is it still being recorded?
It is.
No, 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 certainly, yeah. Yeah, they're definitely, it's the old saying, the more west you go or, out bush, it's the nicer they get. So,
We should tell people you're in Queensland.
Yeah, that makes
So,
sense because,
Tim's
yeah.
already in Adelaide, so he's heading west already. Um,
Uh, yeah, but certainly it's definitely one of the more favorite industries for me, I reckon.
yeah. And
Tim?
look, I would just say that, when we do demonstrations and installations for them, it's just such a good fit. Like
Yeah.
Mm,
that broad range of functionality. A lot of them are coming from systems that might, be older legacy systems or systems that tackle both retail and hospitality and don't really focus on, any one. And, we can show them some excellent tools to help them in their business.
I
mm,
think one of the other things to like about produce farm supply farm shops is while they're businesses, they also provide a really vital service in Australia that relies so much on what's produced on the land. And so there's this land and community connection in these businesses that I think gives them a grounding that's reflected in the kind of people who work in those businesses, which is really good to see.
Yeah, that's a good
yeah.
point. They're very tied to the success of their customers in a lot of ways.
Yeah, very much so. And, all through COVID, these were businesses that were thriving and we're really grateful to support a lot through that process. I think what we should do is wrap up and say a couple of things. First of all, the AI tools are hot right now and they're fantastic. But we continue to evolve the produce software because produce owners and business people working in the businesses tell us what they'd like to see changed in the software,
Mm.
and we very much listen to that.
Yeah, I mean the whole changes to quote and invoice recently was a lot on the back of produce and garden
Yeah.
supplies. So
And
Yeah,
dispatch too, Tim. Dispatch.
exactly. Yeah, the implementation of dispatch was absolutely around that.
mm,
Yeah, very much so. All right, guys, thank you very much. If anybody wants to see the produce software, they can reach out to sales@towersystems.com.au. You guys you'll do a demonstration, but you'll start by asking questions about their business needs.
Yeah, just a
correct.
quick conversation and no pressure. Like, yeah, we're pretty easygoing as well.
All right, thanks, guys.
No
Thanks.
worries. Thanks.